public comment. Any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Schmidt. You may remember me from the other night. I'm here to speak in favor of your idea to develop some kind of procedure for when there is a vacancy, a voluntary vacancy in the courthouse, of having a form that you fill out and the department fills out and comes and gives you more knowledge about the position. And so I hope that you decide to go through with that plan. The other thing I'd like to say is the other night, Mr. Willingham mentioned a training that the county board had when Pete Boss was the county board chair. And they had every one of our departments come in and tell the whole county board what our department does. And I think that would be an excellent idea because apparently a lot of the new members of the board do not know what each department does and what each job description does. And so I would like to see that you do that. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to have a paid lunch, because I paid for my own lunch because I didn't think that the county should buy me lunch when I gave my presentation. But like a little Subway lunch in here and have a little presentation, I think would be an excellent idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Public comments are closed. Discussion, possible motion, Sheriff.
Morning, afternoon, whatever it is now.
It's a chilly afternoon.
It's actually kinda nice sunshine out there right now. Bill's gonna bring forward the changes in the court security job description, so.
We had a position to fill, our court security deputy left. So what we did is we posted it, how we normally post job openings for our department, on the county website and on WileyNet. And we posted it for a good period of time to have an LESB certified person take that position. LESB certified means the person has gone through the 720-hour law enforcement academy and is a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Wisconsin. We received no applicants for that posting. We knew we probably wouldn't. People don't come out of the academy and want to be a court security officer. They want to be a police officer or sheriff's deputy. I polled the majority of our staff and brought to them the hypothetical question of, if we are not able to get a LESB certified person to apply for this position, and Jeff or I ordered one of our current deputies to be the court security officer, what would they do? Unanimously, all their responses were, we would immediately start looking at them. We want to be cops, we don't want to be court security. So we changed the application wording to not include LESB. We were fortunate enough to get a person to apply that was a former law enforcement officer, albeit it was 20 years ago, 16 to 20 years ago. So we are going to have a member of our department, non-sworn member, be the court security officer. So we had to make some adjustments to that position description.
Are they retired?
No.
Are they? You're not currently a cop.
She is not currently a cop. She currently works in the Barron County Jail.
Okay.
So she will
Looking
have,
for more flexibility, part-time hours,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
She was LESB certified, but she left
Yeah.
the certification and became
So-
a correctional officer.
she obviously carries a taser now, obviously has handcuffs now, obviously has OC spray now, so it will hopefully be a decent fit. At least we'll have somebody out there.
Do they have to carry a weapon?
They do not have to, no.
They should or could.
Would it be nice for them to have a firearm? Yes, it would be. However,
What makes them,
Are they prohibited from doing that?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, so if we wanted her to carry a firearm, we would have to put her through the full 720 law enforcement academy.
Okay.
Because you can't get a tech college to just do the 40 hours of firearms.
Okay.
So
it's been a struggle to fill this position.
My baseball bat.
Might
That's
work.
what we're asking.
Hockey sticks are longer though.
It's sharper.
No, she's not.
Okay.
So any questions about that?
I have two.
Yes.
One, so who are we providing court security for?
Anybody who's in the court?
And that would include the judge,
Yep. Attorneys, civilians.
attorneys, district attorney,
Mhm.
et cetera. We asked them whether they thought reducing the requirements was a good idea.
We don't really have that option, because if we kept that posting up for LESB certified only, we wouldn't get anyone to apply.
And I have talked with, Lori up there about it, and she's aware of this, so.
So what do we do?
And the judge was also,
6 months ago.
so what we've been doing is the clerk court's office has been emailing us with hearings that they think might need court security. So this week there was 5 or 6 that they thought might need court security. So what we do is, if we're able to, one of the patrol deputies that isn't currently on a call, or an investigator that isn't currently out of the county or an interview, goes upstairs for that 30 minutes,
Okay,
or whatever it is, to do court security.
sorry.
So,
The judge was also emailed too that the person that we're going to hire, looking to hire, is not LESB certified.
that's not asking her if she thought it was a good idea.
It's not her employee.
What's her courtroom?
Yep. But the statutes say that it has to be a sheriff's office employee. I would love for the judge's office to, for the courts have to pay for that employee.
But still, if you were providing security for another department in the courthouse, you'd certainly ask that person if they thought they were comfortable with a person not being certified.
If we had options, absolutely.
So is this would you look at it as a sort of a stopgap?
A what?
Or as a sort of a stopgap or a permanent solution?
Like I said, ideally, we would want that person to be armed, but we could probably have that posting out there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only people that you're going to find that apply for that are certified LSD law enforcement officers that were either terminated for cause at a department and can't get hired anywhere else.
So we don't want that.
No.
And just, if I can step in quick, what we're changing the job description to, or recommending that we change the job description to for you guys to approve, is to still keep it as that is our preference. Is to still have somebody that would be law enforcement certified with that minimum qualification that they have to do for the standards board, so that would still ultimately be our goal.
Yeah.
Would be to do that.
And that position is a part-time position.
It's on call.
What's
Well,
that?
it's technically
It's on
considered,
call.
technically it would be considered on call and away because there's no guarantee hours. Like, if the judge is off for a week, they might not have any hours, so we're not guaranteeing them any hours.
So you also probably aren't gonna get a certified law enforcement officer that's gonna want that either.
She could work 1 day this week and 4 days next week, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
And no benefits.
And it's no benefits, it's a straight $25 an hour, no benefits, no nothing. They work the court schedule, whatever the court and them give.
Yep.
You know, the one we had before, you would look at the calendar and say, hey, you know, there's only 1 or 2 hearings today, and one's at 9 and one's at 3. I'm not gonna come in today, could you guys cover them? And we would send one of our guys up to cover that, so they're not here all day doing nothing.
We're not paying them 7 hours to do
Just a
45 minutes of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I presume
Second
that
one.
the person that you are contemplating hiring is not certified,
Right.
has background. They were interviewed.
Yes.
So, did anybody else apply for the job?
No.
Nobody.
Not that hard.
And we even reposted it.
Yes, we did repost it.
So it was up for 2 weeks. Did another.
And nobody, but there was only one person that applied.
It was up for longer, 2 weeks, wasn't it? Did we have any more applicants for that?
I guess I can't help but wonder if, like, suppose obviously would never happen, but, just suppose the scenario, somebody got in there with a gun, started shooting, is she gonna be able to handle that situation with a taser?
As much as she could,
But the answer is no.
the answer is no. But there is a duress, and it would be, as we're doing it now, there's nobody. I mean, it's not the ultimate answer, but it's a step in that direction.
So in our use of force continuum, just our mere presence is a use of force. Our verbalization is a use of force. So I think just being able to have a uniform in that room and in that hallway is going to deter a lot of things. So I did court security for, it was probably at least 6-7 years. I did it. Only one time did I ever have to put my hands on anybody in the courtroom. And that lady was in her 70s.
Good for you.
She's kind of like you.
And he got his ass.
Got his butt kicked.
So,
Okay.
in response to your question about, getting a weapon, we do have a metal detector. So, do we use it?
You need staff to use that. So in order to successfully use that metal detector, you need 2 staff to run that. 1 person run a detector and 1 person to check everyone's bags and purses. Other counties have that, but
I'm just thinking, if I'm a bad guy, well, maybe I am. And I visited the court and I saw that you had a metal detector you weren't using, I might be more inclined to show up with something that the metal detector would detect.
yep.
When we have jury trials and things that we feel are, we know the people that are involved, we do place that there and use it and man that with our investigators or Phil and I ourselves do it.
So would it always be the case that a dangerous person would come to court only when they were involved in the case? I mean,
No.
you had people that just show up for court.
No, I see what you're saying, I'm not disagreeing with you, but we don't have the staffing or the answers to fix this problem, that's why we're.
I mean, I would say the court is probably the number 1 place that somebody might do something dangerous.
On the street. Oh, in this building?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say, HR. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you're right.
100% HR.
Mental health.
Right.
But, even, I said, we put people there because we feel these people, because we deal with whatever. But it could be somebody we not even know, and.
Yeah.
Like 2 nights ago, a guy pointed a firearm at one of our deputies. We've never dealt with him. Had no clue what his name.
Right.
But decided to point a gun at one of our
Yeah,
deputies.
really well now.
How we know him,
Yeah.
yeah. To answer your question, did anybody else apply? Can you bring the list up again, please? We had a total of 4 applicants for that position. 1 of them failed the background that we've already completed. 1 of them failed the background that we already completed. And 1 of them had a horrible interview for a different position.
The reason I'm asking the
None of them were
question
certified.
is, if we're going to reduce the requirements, and there was any other applicant that met the reduced requirements that we're now giving, shouldn't we interview those people?
So you want us to re-interview someone that already failed the background check?
And they're not certified either.
Right.
But.
So you did interview?
No.
Yeah, they've all been
Yes.
interviewed in
Oh,
the
they've been
past,
interviewed.
yes, every
Oh,
single
they've
one.
been interviewed.
They weren't interviewed for this job.
Because they
Not for
failed the
this job.
background check for the jailer dispatcher position.
Yes. 2 of them already failed backgrounds.
And then everyone
And just
interviewed
stick
the week
another
before.
$350 into a background form in our.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I just wanna make sure that we're not,
And that's
somebody's
why.
not coming along and saying, I applied for the job, I wasn't
Right.
qualified by
And that's
the-"
why we
But then you
reposted.
turn around and hire
Reposted it.
somebody who wasn't qualified.
We posted it for a month.
Okay.
Per month?
Any,
And I don't know how much time we have left.
Yeah, any other?
And I didn't
That's a
see any of you guys.
Yeah,
apply.
any other questions?
What if, is it possible that we could let this individual fill that position temporarily, leave this as it is,
none of them are outside our job description.
Well, that's a decent question, so you want to,
I'm not done.
Okay.
So leave this as it is, the personnel could approve possibly just a temporary, just a provisional description for that person. Let that person know that their job would end as soon as we found a properly, trained person, qualified person to fill it. And leave the thing online indefinitely until we find somebody.
I could say, yes, it could be done, but if you offered me that job and you could be done a week from now because somebody else hired it, I wouldn't take the job and we'd be back where we're at now.
Yeah, she's currently working, so I'd be afraid to do.
Yeah, she's here.
So don't we from time to time hire people, not in your department, but that don't have all the credentials and they're given a period of time to get them?
Right. But we're talking 5 months of school. That she'd have to go.
She's not gonna want it, she let it lapse twice.
But she won't be able to meet the court
And
security.
she doesn't want full time.
no, she's not.
That's why she applied to report that.
She live in there?
Lived over that direction. I don't know exactly where we're at. Was it Barron?
I wouldn't-
I think it's
It
in
doesn't-
Barron County, I
It
believe,
doesn't matter.
but it doesn't matter for that. Our last one lived in Phillips.
Any other questions?
Anybody?
So
We need a motion to approve this.
I guess, again, if we're gonna dumb down the requirements, then it would seem to me that we should re-advertise and let anybody else who doesn't have the requirements apply for it.
We did, for a
We
month.
did.
It's been up for a month.
We didn't, committee didn't change the job description or the requirements, did we?
No?
Which is why we haven't hired anybody, but we did change the job description to prefer to see if this would even be a potential possibility that we would want to explore this option. And we explained that to the candidates.
So you put it online without the requirements?
With the preferred requirement of the law enforcement certification.
Instead of required.
Instead of required.
Correct. We put it required first.
You got 0 applicants.
Yep.
Shouldn't have come to us.
But we
Before
didn't
you
hire
actually put it
somebody
on.
without that. That's why we're coming now.
I know, but I mean, that's like putting the cart before the horse.
Well, but they went through the.
But you guys
channels.
also say we need security in our courtroom now, so we wanna
I
wait
understand
once
that.
more. I mean,
I
that's
get
what the problem is, so I don't.
She's well aware of that, in order for us to offer her that position, this has to pass through here. She is aware of that.
Looks like process, and I would prefer we didn't repeat.
Trying to hire a court security officer?
No, trying, changing the job description or the requirements after, and then
This seems
asking the
amazing.
committee to change the job description after you
I'm not sure.
advertised it with a change. It doesn't seem to be.
I mean, I understand that you need to have a person hearing that, but. I don't know how to close this.
You guys remember talking about this yesterday at jail, and Lori, about court security and stuff, remember we had conflict and everything? They're always doing it, and they have to call off deputies from down here about their taking care of the situation.
There's been a handful of times too where Lori's emailed me where they thought they needed security for that and we weren't able to provide that because we were all busy on something else.
Right, and that's what you told us yesterday too. So this kind of conversation.
Even if it's stuck, I don't have to have somebody out there.
Just like I said, just from your presence in uniform, we've heard a lot of antics.
Right.
And if she needs assistance, she has a radio, she can call us, and normal business hours, there's always usually 1 to 3 of us in the office.
And I think how other counties get over it is a lot of other counties have a full, because I think we would be one of the only counties that we wouldn't have a actual law enforcement certified court security.
Correct.
But every other county has their full-time, guaranteed 40 hours, full benefit, eligible position. It's not on call, it's not scattered hours like this, it's not. Right now, our person, is averaging about 20 to 24 hours a week is what the average is. The position is budgeted for 1,040 hours for the whole year. That's what the budget
Did you
is.
not check that some counties that have, front door check-in are unarmed?
Several counties that run metal detectors for their courthouse during normal business hours, their deputies that work those are unarmed.
So we beat it to death enough. We have a motion to approve. All motion. Second. We have a second. That's 3 cents. And then second. Okay. Motion dies.
So we-
PTO policies that,
So we'll just tell the judge that she won't get court security then, is that the consensus I'm assuming?
tell the judge what?
That we're not gonna have court security for her?
Sounds that way.
Okay. Okay.
This is you, Sheriff.
Yeah, this probably goes well too. So evidently, during the November 12th budget hearing and the November 14th personnel meeting, I instructed my, secretary to attend the meetings. Phil was out of town on vacation, and I was in Marshfield, for medical reasons. And I instructed her to be at both meetings so that she could inform me what's going on. By her doing that, it created a half hour of overtime, comp time, whatever it is. And it was brought to my attention that, she couldn't do that she had to use, PTO to be at that meeting because of the handbook requires, states that, which it does. But because
You guys can find that in here.
because it is a direct duty assigned by the sheriff for reasons that we couldn't change. I think that it should be left alone for that purpose. If it's not something that I instruct her to be at and she'd like to go, then absolutely she should follow that rule. But she was given a direct order to be at that meeting by her supervisors.
Isn't that covered, Ashley? Are they required, were they asked to be there, or is it just they're asked to be there by the board itself?
I don't think it says either way.
Yeah, correct.
So she
It doesn't
follows-
say that a department
I mean,
has.
she followed your gut direction.
She has to because she works for me.
Yeah.
But she is a general employee.
She follows the courthouse PTO policy, not
Yes.
the union contract.
Right, yeah, she's not in the union. The three gals are not in the union, correct.
So, what exactly is the language that is causing the lockup here?
I think what, the reason why it had came up is I was asked to, every employee that came to either that personnel meeting or that full board meeting, if they weren't on PTO, to go back, because we had a lot of employees that came to that meeting and didn't put PTO on their time cards, so just came in to look at the meetings, and our policy does state that you have to submit PTO if you want to come to a meeting, during working hours unless it directly pertains to you. The intent of directly pertains to you is that you're either speaking or you're asked by the board to be there. Because otherwise everybody could argue that everything directly pertains to you. That means like the whole courthouse would come to like personnel, because we're talking about HR policies and procedures or pay increases, or, you know, that could directly pertain to somebody. So the intent of the policy is that if you're going to be, speaking at the meeting or you're requested to be there, and that, the department head can't say who can and can't be there. I think the worry is, nothing wrong with the worry is, so then if other department heads tell their staff, like, yeah, I'm fine if you go sit in the personnel meeting for 2 hours today, it looks like an interesting agenda item, and I can't be there, are we gonna start allowing that? And that might be what snowballs this, because some department heads might not have a problem. While the sheriff might have a valid reason to have, you know, his staff member in there, some department heads. So what we'd be essentially saying is department heads can override this policy, yes, and can tell their staff members that they can be present.
Well,
Snowball.
Because in this situation, I don't think like Chair Taylor for the board meeting, or I don't know that for the personnel meeting, like the sheriff's office was told they had to be there.
So, in other words,
And I think George was there too.
so the bottom line, in order for her to be here and not have to take PTO, she would have been had to have asked by the board to be here. Is that?
Or speaking on a topic, is how the policy states. You can, I know you talked to some people about this too.
So we had
I know.
we had several employees that did not put PTO on their time sheets. Ashley reached out to the department heads, explained the policy, explained what she just did, and that department had then directed their employee that they needed to take PTO. This was the only department that did not do that, so that's why we're here.
I would say the easiest way to solve the problem is that in the circumstance that you couldn't be here and Phil couldn't be here or whatever, that you would just send a note to the county board sheriff saying, I'm asking so-and-so to be there with your approval, that should be good enough. I don't see.
yeah, I mean, she was technically, if she said, no, I'm not going, it's smart.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just trying to bring it to personnel, so.
After the fact.
But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just
I get it.
going forward, I think the solution is just, when that happens, and it probably doesn't happen that often, that you just ask the county board chair to approve that, and that sounds enough.
So if we allow this in this one case.
I mean, if you ordered everybody.
Okay.
But then the county board chair is the one that directed us to put this on the personnel, so I don't think the county board chair signed off on that. That's why it's coming.
Come on, John.
Doesn't that make sense?
It does now, once you talk
Yeah.
that way, but in order to get to that goal.
And that's fine, if that's what we want, we can just direct department heads to do that, if their staff members want to be at meetings, that they can just write a note to the
I don't think it should be because that the staff wants to be at the meeting, I don't think they want
This
to.
is, this is.
Yeah,
I-
no, but the department head,
But that's how you worded it now.
oh, sorry, I apologize, but I know we have other department heads that we've had the same situation, so that's all
Okay.
I'm saying, is that it can turn into,
No, I get it, it's not, hey, I wanna go to that meeting, 'cause
yeah.
I'm
So
curious.
so if they were
But what
sending
was the
someone.
point of being at that meeting, can I just ask?
Building and make sure we got out of the building
Okay.
safely.
Like, why did the sheriff's department need to be at the meeting?
Well, the budget hearing, she was there because in case there's questions.
Because we didn't have every other department
And
there, I think
so
that's,
she stayed past her
Yeah, I get
hours,
it.
but she was working.
I think there were
I don't wanna argue.
I don't think
Out
she's-
premature.
So there weren't board members, or I mean, department heads would not follow this policy.
No, all other department
No.
heads did follow the policy.
They
No,
took PTO.
department heads don't have to take PTO.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
yeah, they do.
Right.
Yes, they
Oh,
do.
Jeremy
Jeremy
took
took PTO.
PTO because he was listening to the, yeah.
I don't agree with that.
I don't know.
My opinion.
Again, that's fine.
Well, does the policy say except for department heads? And does our handbook apply to,
And
you're
so,
different because you're elected.
right, but I'm also gonna argue is,
What's going on down here probably is
and-
pretty
and
important to department
It
heads.
is,
especially
and
the budget.
why would you not want department heads at these meetings so that they know what's going on? There seems to be this huge disconnect between department heads and the committees and the county board, and I think we need to fix that somehow.
But not right
But
now.
push.
But what if I?
Not today.
Can we just, we're getting ready.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Let's just take care of this.
Yep, that's fine.
You're not very.
But I think what you guys, from an HR
I know
standpoint,
what
you
you're
just need to
saying.
know that what you guys do here, because we have had a lot of department heads that want to be in all these meetings, especially personnel. So that's completely fine with me, whatever you decide, but if we say no department heads, then we need to be prepared for our department heads to start attending all of these meetings that don't pertain to them, because if and I wasn't here then, but I thought that's why this policy was put into place, because that's what was happening, is our department heads were coming to meetings where they weren't speaking at, they weren't, and that's what this was turning into, especially every board meeting that was here, that was all day.
Can I say a word about this? Can I just mention something here? But it's different if you're on the agenda, something about your department's on the agenda.
Yeah, correct. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, she came for a reason, like Rosemary said, she helped the public get out of the building after the meeting.
If I could speak, she was working, she directed us public members to get out of the building, made sure we got out of the building safely, made sure that we didn't do any mischief in the building. She did her job, she was working in his direction.
And for instance, today I have something about my EMTs, EMRs on the agenda, so I think that department head should have the right to be here. So
This
they
has
hear
been a
it.
standing policy, has it not? So I recall some meetings in the past where there was individuals coming into meetings and sitting there through the entire meeting that weren't on the agenda. So I remember some previous committee chairs grumbling about it after the fact, so there's been some abuse of this in the past. The problem was we didn't have an HR at the time, if I remember correctly, to enforce it or do anything with it. So it has been abused.
Well, every
In the
single
past.
policy in the handbook is gonna be abused.
So if you don't leave it black and white, someone will find the gray area.
Well, I find it regardless, but my problem with, the discussion is he instructed his employee, IT team lead job description.
I put approve the position description to change of IT lead for the position title.
Team lead, yep,
Team
just add team
Yep,
in there.
IT
And
team
then-
lead.
Does this have to be a recommendation to the board?
Yes, yep.
And I guess if we're gonna advertise, do we have to?
Well, technically, so we're not asking to fill this right now, because I didn't know how our discussion later
Right,
goes,
right.
so we just thought if we got this process going at least, then we can come back to that.
So would we retain the current salary levels and all that?
Yeah.
So we don't have to, what I'm saying is, let's not go to the board with a position title change, and then 2 months from now, have to go back to the board and ask them to set the salary.
Unless you guys wanted to make major changes with the duties, I don't think we could justify changing the salary at this time.
We have a motion?
Was there a second?
I don't think there was a motion. Was there a motion? There was a motion.
Oh.
What did you type up?
Approve the position description with the change of IT team lead for position title and forward to county board.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion at all? More discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
You're good with this, right?
Yep.
You too. Have a good evening. Human resources.
Okay, so human resources report. So, in November, the month of November, we had 0 terms. So remember, those are people that had left us in November. So their last working day was in November. In November, we had 3 hires. So those were people who started, work with us or were hired, had a hire day of November. We had a bailiff, so that's an on-call position upstairs on the 3rd floor. Maintenance technician and a highway worker 1. So those are the 3 hires. Currently, we have 12 positions not yet filled. Courtroom security officer, the county fair intern, 4 dealer dispatchers, a social worker, an INA specialist, And then we have, the other 4 are not yet posted. So we have 12 that are not filled, but we've only had 8 of them posted. So the 4 that are not currently posted right now, operations manager, highway commissioner, the IT team lead, and the CCS service facilitator.
I thought we were doing better with the jail dispatcher.
We just had another one leave, put in the notes today to go to Barron.
That's like a revolving door. Too bad.
We have 2 interviews tomorrow.
Any update? Anybody have?
It was late last
Should have
night.
been 8.
Any update as to why highway is holding up on operations and commissioners?
Yeah, I've talked to the highway chair multiple times about this. The thought is that we have that, we have the consultant out there right now, and with the holidays and the progress that they're making with the interim and the consultant, they wanted to hold off on that.
Okay.
So the chair said that we, would re-talk about that towards the end of this month and look at posting. Because we had posted both of those positions for months and we had not had any applicants.
I think I made a comment at
and
the last highway, I think we just need to hire a firm to find us a highway commissioner.
Already had it.
It's been long enough, but. Anyhow, that's for
Okay.
the meeting.
Are there people that do that?
Oh, yeah.
Specifically?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the feedback I got from in HR professional world is that, a lot of people didn't want to even look at that job because of the state of our highway department. So our hope also was if, our consultant out there can start making some headway and some ground, maybe if we repost that, some people would see that too, and maybe, people that, cause it's not,
Maybe
it's
he
not.
has some pull in the highway world too.
Exactly, and
Maybe
he's
bring some
very well known, so it's not, the thing I worry about hiring a headhunter, that is headhunters are there to help find people and make them aware of this opening, and hopefully they are interested in, that's definitely not our problem, is awareness, and the whole state is well aware that we're looking for a commissioner and ops manager. I know Justin said they've been laughed at numerous times at numerous hiring meetings, but no, we would never touch that place, we would never go there, so hoping to change some of this, the consultant, and that's also why, part of the reason why I'm giving it a break too.
Yeah, a lot of times they're, like you said, they're more wired into the local job, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're can be a little more persuasive than just taking somebody around and letting them do the work.
Cause the people that all had applied in the past would not meet our ordinances, for the qualifications for the position.
Right.
Okay, then I just have a couple updates really quick, or one update, mainly, we used to, and I didn't know this, I think this might have been before I was here, we used to do a comp time report that would come to personnel. So that would come to personnel, so you guys were aware of the balances that were being carried by each department for that comp time. Is this something you guys want to see? I guess I hadn't been bringing it, cause I really didn't know a lot about it, but
What's the,
did you bring it when you were?
how much money is involved?
It's more,
It's more about who's carrying how many hours, are the department heads doing a good job capping people at that 40 hours, are there departments that are,
Capped at 40 hours comp time?
yes.
and from time to time, there would be reasons why we'd wanna make an exception to the
Right.
policy because they were short 3 people in that department and they needed to,
Yeah, no.
get more comp time, and there were some people that would have pretty big balance that they had to whittle down.
Yeah. I know, what I can say for certain is that our finance department does a pretty good job at, making sure it's not going over that, cause I get complaints sometimes the other way from employees that I wanna carry more than 40 and I just got told I had over 40, so I do know it is being looked at.
As long as finance is doing their roles, and there's no, oopses at the end of the year,
Yeah.
whenever it runs out.
Printout or something.
Yeah, that would be all right.
And I think we used to actually approve it every month.
Well, that would be,
Well, I don't think.
that would be a little too,
Not approve it,
But,
if there was somebody that was way over.
we might wanna take a look at exceptions, but not, we don't need to get involved in that.
Okay, and then my other question questions along with that report, is there any other data or anything else you want to see that you want me to report on, monthly, quarterly, anything?
Can we get back to you on that?
I can ask that again next month, just think about that. Okay, so that's my report.
Thanks.
Next up is the rehire policy for EMTs and EMRs. So this was brought up, by one of the, emergency services committees. So the emergency services committee, when they met last month, they had talked about how they had wanted to look at not having that rehire. So our current rehire status, our current rehire policy right now is that any employee who terminates his or her employment in good standing and is subsequently rehired by the county will be treated the same way as any other new hire for purposes of determining wage rates, benefits, eligibility, all of that. The reasoning behind this is they had thought at emergency services that if they don't have EMTs, EMRs follow this, somebody can retire with the county, come back to us, and then get that higher wage for an EMT or an EMR, because they would be able to use their years of service would be counted towards that. The biggest concern that I have with this, and Tom can jump in whenever you want, the biggest concern that I have with this is I included in your packets that when you retire under WRS, you have to have a valid termination of employment. And it defines a valid termination. You cannot have any plans of any sort with your current employer that you are going to come back. So I'm worried if we were to put some sort of this policy in place that is almost, whether it's intentional or not, telling them like, hey, we'll hire you back. And how can we say for sure that we're not going to hire them back? I mean, that
Isn't
kind
there
of.
a time?
There's
75
75 days.
days.
Oh, okay, I see.
And within that 75 days, you can't talk about employment at all. And I think, Tom, with that, pretty much your concerns as well.
Yeah, and the concern was we don't have enough EMTs and EMRs, and they think maybe this would help somebody come back. All right, people are not sitting out there in the retirement world thinking about coming back for $1 more an hour or 50 cents more an hour, whatever it would be, which is what we're talking about here, is $1 an hour more because of years of service that somebody would have. And I don't know, again, I'm not against my EMTs making $100 an hour, but if you're gonna do it for the EMTs, you're gonna have to do it for everybody. I think it can't be just a policy for EMS, it has to be a wide overseeing policy, and in that case, WRS says, no, you can't do that.
Well, you're actually giving them a conditional offer of employment.
Right, because I'm gonna give them a raise when they come back, or they're gonna keep their higher wage, I can't do that. So I don't think this, because of it's WRS, it's not the state, it's not the county, it's WRS that regulates
This
this.
is violated so.
All the
so
time in
often
the education world.
Oh, gosh, yes, yeah. All kinds of retirement.
Just verbally, though, it's not written.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Don't-
It's not
yeah, well,
written.
we're not
Don't
writing
put
it.
And they
It's not
do,
written in
they
your
do,
policy.
it was 60 days when Lynn retired, but
Yeah.
not 75, but they do abide by that because they have to, because it's WRS.
Right, otherwise they
You know,
pull your retirement.
You're gonna
award.
screw your retirement.
Yeah, why would you wanna do that?
And nobody's gonna do that for $1 an hour.
Yeah.
Even for $100 an hour.
Yeah.
Usually they pretend that they couldn't find anybody.
Exactly, and then you
Yeah.
give them an emergency license and you go to WRS,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But
Mhm.
having it in writing is not, that's an offer of employment.
That's what we thought, we just wanted to make sure we're on the right track, I don't wanna
Emergency
fight with
services.
anybody about this, because, again, I'm not against my EMTs making any dollar they can make, but this
However much
is
they
the
can make is
wrong
fine.
way to do that, I think.
Now, are you talking about full-time, or are you talking about volunteer?
Anybody,
Huh?
anybody. So right now, with the last raise they gave, they got 50 cents an hour for over 5 years and another 50 cents at 10 years. All right, so if somebody quits and they come back and you carry over that they've been here for 10 years or more, they're gonna come back with that $1 hour again, just like they had when they left.
But how many
But the
people,
policy says they have to come back at an entry level. So that wouldn't qualify them for that $1 an hour.
but how many people that come back would be affected by WRS in the first?
Currently, I have 3.
Okay.
2 have not spoken a
Now,
word.
these are people that are full-time.
Nope, none of them are full-time. They're all part-timers. but been here a long time
They had like rolling hours that qualified them.
for state retirement. And it doesn't say in our policy that it had to be the equivalent of, 10,000 hours to be 5 years. It's, you had 5 years. Well, I got a lot of people 5 years of service.
Yep.
But, I don't see how this can work as a policy because it's just against WRS's rules, and I don't want to fight that battle.
But it's
And I
only
get
if they start collecting, so their retirement.
Correct. If they don't if they don't retire and take that 75 days off and don't collect the WRS, this has nothing to do with anybody. Because if they quit, for
But
instance,
that was
at
the
first,
reason that emergency services brought it up,
Yeah.
though, was specifically for retirees.
yeah,
Was why they started talking
it was
about
to
it.
try to get the retirees to come back. And I get that, but it's not, I don't think it's feasible under WRS. That's what I gotta
I'd
say.
be worried about our liability.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think anything is needed then.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you, Rosemary.
Okay, so the last thing I have is the request to fill forms and process for vacant positions. So I know last time we were talking about, when we had the last meeting, we were talking about what the process was for filling vacant positions. I reached out to Chair Russell and asked him if it would be prudent that I put this agenda item on. Ironically, I'm part of an HR group for all HR directors in the county, and somebody on that group had recently just asked all counties who their county's looking to go to, like, request to fill vacancy forms. And so I was able to get all the forms, or a few forms from other counties and what they currently use. So instead of me creating an own form of what I think might work for this county, I included the forms in your guys' packet of what some other counties use when they do requests for hires. So that way you guys can look through that, look through the ideas, decide if this is something we want to pursue, what kind of things you would and wouldn't want on the form. I
Is
think
that what your ask is here, that we ask you to pursue this, or what is it? Cause I looked through this, oh, it's great, and, Wood County rubric is really good.
Yeah, and that's what, a lot of times I think when I bring policies forward without any feedback from you guys, they're not exactly what you guys are looking for, so I guess right now, wanna discuss, like, if this is something that you guys want to pursue, is this, and then what kind of things you like. I really liked that rubric as well, because I think it's very clearly spells out, like, and I think it's good to have.
It is, it's rubric, that's a
Oh.
rubric. Oh. But it's kind of the same if you fold it up neatly.
So this would be something we would use to determine if we were to put a freeze on hiring and then only hire on the basis of going through this process. Is that what you're?
Yeah, and I don't even know that you would need to call it a hiring freeze, except for you guys would put some motion in place that for every open position, before we posted it on the site, you would need to,
Yeah, I didn't,
the department head would come here with one of these forms.
I didn't have in mind just specifically a hiring freeze, I had in mind to justify any open position going forward. And put a pencil to it, it doesn't make sense, like the Chippewa did, can other people do this job? If you don't hire it, what happens? They also had in there what their salary is, but then at the end, they put in what other expenses would be associated with this job, should you hire them? So they kind of checked all the boxes for me. But it wasn't just, let's stop hiring and then institute this form, it was.
But it basically.
You have to tell me what you need.
Justify the position.
Yes.
Or whether you could get by with a lesser position.
Correct. It's, I think I mentioned in one of the board meetings, it was, it's sort of a zero-based budgeting tool. So that you start from zero, you have to justify everything going forward. You can't just say, well, I had them before, and they've been here for 10 years, so I need them. Well, maybe you don't need them.
Which is currently the practice that I've been told, to follow, is if it's a current position and somebody leaves, then I post it. And it's budgeted for, yes. If it's a new position, that's brand new, that's when you see everybody come to the board and say, hey, I want this position.
But when you're looking at financial issues and deficits, even if it's budgeted, you still should justify it.
Yeah, exactly, I agree. I was just trying to say what the practice was.
I don't I don't think same shift, different day is appropriate anymore.
And I think that back form on Chippewa, I know a lot of you guys have had questions before, like you hear department heads saying, hey, it's grant funded. Well, this would make them really write down
Yeah.
a percentage of grant funding, so
Right.
you could see, okay,
That
is
would
it
be nice.
fully, or is it, so
Yeah.
using some of that.
Tell me what
language.
grant it is.
Well,
And is it
theoretically,
And is
competitive
it
or,
competitive?
yeah,
theoretically, if you assign the responsibilities to another person, the grant would still cover.
In most cases, yeah. I think there's
Yeah.
very few instances.
It's not like the grant is tied to an individual.
No, it's tied to the job.
To the job.
It's tied to fulfilling
The duties,
duties. There's a lot of them, yeah, you don't have to have this title in that department in order to receive that grant.
Do they also have I mean, I didn't read through these real thoroughly, but, you might have a situation where, yeah, we wanna fill this position, but we can get by for a couple of months without doing it and save that amount of
It is in
of
there.
the budget?
It is in there.
I thought it would be. So, how timely, how soon, how
You know,
long
and some
does it,
department has.
and how long is the recruiting process too?
Mhm.
So you don't wanna wait 2 months on a job that takes 3 months to recruit people.
I'm just wondering, too, in light of our budget fiasco that we faced, I spoke with Kathy Bush, who is the clerk for Barron, and I asked her if they were going through a similar crisis, and she said one of the ways that they curb that kind of thing is that when they have somebody leave or retire, they see if those duties could be filled, distributed, separated, and distributed to other people in the department, and then they don't fill that position.
Right.
That helps them.
That's in here.
Yeah, that's-
Is it in here?
There's
Yeah,
a section in there in the Chippewa one, was can these duties be absorbed?
you might have to rewrite other job descriptions
Yeah.
to do that, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe throw a couple bucks out.
Or, I mean, even if you increase the salary, you would still save money.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this is a great idea for us going forward, because this problem that we just dealt with is not, I don't foresee it going away anytime.
Well, it's not gonna go away. Yeah, we need to have some, we need to have some better fiscal controls and force the department heads to tighten their belts. And this is a way to make sure that you can't just add a body willy-nilly and.
So maybe rather than just accepting one or the other of these, you could go through and
Yeah,
take the
that's
critical
what I was
elements
thinking,
of
what you guys
each
like to
one
vote.
and say, this is what we definitely wanna have in our policy.
Yeah, I would definitely keep the Wood County rubric. Or
Yeah,
modify it however
Okay,
you want.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of
It's really,
answer the question.
yeah, it answers all the questions.
Well, having that rubric too, it makes it really fair and consistent across the board for all departments.
Mhm.
So it's easy for you guys too.
You can't make it up as you go along.
And I like the Chippewa County, there's parts of, maybe you can take parts of a couple of these and put it
Yeah,
in
that's
a
what
one.
I was thinking.
I like when, the grant part and full-time, part-time.
Well, and even if one of the questions too, which I think is pertinent, is what programs or services will be impacted if you don't refill the position, so knowing that too is.
I like too, is this position mandated?
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, some of this Chippewa one,
Pretty good, huh?
pretty simple.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of counties that are looking to start doing this right now.
Well, you just, even if you had all the money in the world, you should still do it. It's playing with other people's money.
It's just good business sense.
The fiscal impact sheet's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my next question is to when we have current openings come up right now, before this gets put in place, how would you like those to be handled?
I'd like this, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but sooner is better for me. And it would be a really good litmus test for people to see how much blowback we're gonna get, 'cause some people are gonna say, I'm not doing that. I need this job. Well, yeah, you are. Or post it.
I can tack it on if you guys are fine, I'll work on it and we can always.
Is everybody else fine with this? I'm mostly sorry, I don't wanna do that.
Well, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Depending how fast I implement this, if we don't wanna wait till January, we can tack it on to a negotiation, special ad hoc personnel to review the form, just to start getting what you guys think about it. I would send it out ahead of time so you guys could get it taken
I'm
in.
okay with it.
Okay.
Shouldn't be dragging our feet.
No, absolutely. Sooner the better.
Yeah, sooner the better. You good?
Yeah,
That's all you need from us. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn? Nobody?
Well, seeing as though I couldn't be here on time, and my apologies, everyone.
It's all right.
I can't help it, but I'll make the motion to
Do
adjourn.
we have a second?
Well, you have to wait that 15 minutes.
Yeah, you gotta wait. Yeah,
I'll
you
stay
have to stay
after,
behind.
when all you guys go,
Before
alright,
you
that's fair
disperse.
enough.
Yeah, before you disperse. All in favor?